Hello everyone, welcome to the fifth session of Business English. Today we are going to talk about common business idioms, and in the following sessions also we are going to talk about some common business idioms because they're used very frequently, and a lot of times we don't know the meaning because we know very commonly used idioms and they might not be used in the business language. So that's why we are going to talk about some business idioms. Here's a little bit about me. Please rate, review, subscribe, and recommend the course. Also, please leave your suggestions and comments below. The first one is 24 by 7. 24 by 7 means to work 24 hours a day, 7 days in a week. Okay, the convenience store on the corner is open 24/7. That means at day also and at night also. So what kind of companies? There are a lot of supermarkets and all also, who, or a lot of hotels who have shifts like 9 to 6, then 6 to 11, 12 and also on. So they're available on all day. They are on available 24 into 7. So that is, they are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Next is a tough break. A tough break means when something unfortunate happens, it can be called a tough break. It was a tough break when Carolyn quit. She was one of our top performers. So tough break means when something unfortunate happens. Obviously, if she was a very good employee, and if she was she used to match up the deadlines and do everything good and help in the progress of the company, so it was obviously a very tough break for the company because it was something unfortunate, right? Ahead of the curve. Ahead of the curve means to be at the curve means to be advanced than the competition, right? So when we're investing a lot of money in research and development so that we can stay ahead of the curve, right? Or like Reliance Jio. I don't know why I always give these telecom examples, but that's maybe because I'm closely related to it. So I was closely related to it. So means more advanced in the competition. Like Reliance Jio is ahead of the curve if we talk about people in the telecom sector companies in the telecom sector as of now. Okay, next is ahead of the pack. Ahead of the pack means to be ahead of the pack means to be more successful than the competition. I think it's again pretty much the same that we discussed right now. If we want to stay ahead of the pack, we are going to have to work hard and continue to innovate. Very true. Okay. Next one is ASAP. ASAP, I think, is has become more like a colloquial English only now, right? So it's basically an acronym for as soon as possible. In case you're wondering why I've put a Superman's picture, so that means if you're saying as soon as possible, probably like Superman. Some people expect the deadlines to, us to stick to the deadlines like Superman's. They would give you such small time and they would want you to finish a lot of work. So basically, ASAP means as soon as possible. I need to finish these works. My boss needs them ASAP. Okay, next is at stake. At stake means at risk. Okay, so I'm a little nervous about giving this presentation. There's a lot at stake, right? That's because maybe the business might go to a new it might reach a new height, or it might go to a new low, so that's why a lot is at stake. Stake means that because there's a lot that is at risk. Okay, next is back to square one. This I think you would have heard very often. It's a very commonly used phrase. Back to square one means to return, to start something all over again, right? Our programmers identified what they had thought about the problem. Programmers identified what they had thought the problem was with the software. After working for several hours, it turned out that the problem was something different. We are back to square one, unfortunately. That means that the programmers identified something, but that was not the problem was something else. So basically that remained unidentified. Initial problem was that there is some problem, and final problem is that the problem still exists. So you're back to the initial stage. So that means back to square one means coming back to the same problem, or coming back to the same thing, starting all over again. Next is back to the drawing board. Back to the drawing board means to start something over and go back to the planning stage, right? Sometimes when you've not planned something properly, or the execution, you feel that if it's executed instead of a profit, it may make a loss. So you again want to go you want to go back to the drawing board and start planning all over again. The prototype wasn't successful, we have to go back to the drawing board, right? Next is backroom deal. A backroom deal is an agreement or decision that is made without the public knowing about it. So backroom deal must be this phrase must be common more with the government organizations, because they are more because they don't want the public to know that what has happened. So I think the government contract, I think they got the government contract because of a backroom deal, so the public never got to know. Next is a ballpark number or a ballpark figure. Again, I'd heard this phrase from a lot of people, and after quite some time I realized what they meant. So a ballpark figure is a very inexact estimate, right? Like this guy, he's making some rough estimate which is not correct. I'm not sure about what a Super Bowl commercial costs, but if you give me a ballpark figure, I'd say about $3 million. So you're giving a very inexact estimate. You don't know how much it is, and you're just giving a rough estimate. Ki, theek hai, it might be somewhere around that. Okay, next is behind someone's back. Very simple. I think the phrase explains itself. To do something behind someone's back means to do something without someone's knowledge and in an unfair way. Of course, if you're doing something, even if you're bitching behind someone's back, you are not being audacious enough to tell that person, right? So in a way, what you're doing is something wrong. So when you're doing something behind someone's back means you're doing something unfairly, in an unfair way. Without the knowledge of the other person, right? She didn't think it would be fair to go behind his back and talk about the management, so she confronted him directly. That's a very good thing to do, though that is the entire exact opposite of what happens in offices. They would always talk behind your back. That's going to happen always. So, but otherwise, this girl is very nice. If she didn't do it. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Big picture. Big picture means everything that is involved in a particular situation is called a big picture. Like suppose there's an orchestra, so there are singers, there are musicians, there are instruments and everything. But the big picture is that we want the orchestra to sing nicely. So we are not involving the small things. So right. So even though we have all very specific tasks to do, our manager is make sure that we don't lose sight of the big picture. Like in the telecom companies, the big picture is to provide seamless customer experience, right? Ab andar mein whatever is going on, there might be various departments, everything, that is their problem, right? So the big picture means everything involved within the situation. Okay, next is blue collar. Again, please remember this, because this phrase you're going to hear over and over again, and it's used for a specific type of people. There's blue collar, there's white collar. I'll cover white collar also in the future sessions. A blue collar is someone who works his hands in manufacturing, construction, maintenance, etc. The opposite is a white collar worker. A white collar worker is someone who works in an office, like customer management, sales, etc. Blue collar and white collar can be used to describe a job, position, or place. I hope it makes it clear, because this is something which is very you can easily understand it. It's a blue collar town with a lot of farmers and factory workers. So basically, I think the jobs that are involving more of requirement of manpower, sorry, not manpower exactly, manpower as in literal sense, as in the strength, as in your physical strength, that is blue collar work. And white collar is basically, they call it the white collar jobs, mean those elite jobs wherein you just have to sit and do more of management type of things. Okay, next is going by the book. By the book means to do things by the book means to do things according to the company policy or law. It means to follow the rules 100%, right? Some people can manage to do it. Like some people are there, they're very stringent that, okay, sir, this is the law, so I won't. At times you want a little bit of a modulation. Even I am somebody who goes by the book, by the way, but it's not that a good thing. At times you need to modulate according to your boss's preferences, or the preference or the audience that you are targeting, right? We regularly audited. We are regularly audited by several regulatory agencies. It's important that we do everything by the book. So you should do everything by the book means following the company policy or the law, or to follow the rules. Next is to call it a day. Call it a day means to decide to stop working for that day. Well, Jones, it's 7 a.m. and I'm hungry. How about we call it a day? Call it a day, stop working, and you're done for the day. So that means call it a day. Alright, then catch someone off guard. Catch someone off guard means to surprise someone by doing something that he or she was not expecting. Mike was caught off guard when they asked him to direct the meeting, right? So that means you are doing something that you were not expected to do. Now this poor guy is running, because a lot of times we start working like donkeys. We don't want to present work. We're like, okay, we're just sitting off. So especially people at the lower level, who are not really at managerial levels. So maybe he was caught off guard. He was meant to do something. He was taken by surprise because he was asked to give a presentation which he wasn't expecting to give. Next is cave or cave in. To cave or cave in means to agree, to give in or agree to something that someone previously did not want to accept. The employees complained about the change in policy, but the supervisor refused to cave in. Right, so we basically to give in to, like, okay fine, you're agreeing with it, and you initially, like, I feel for this 7th pay commission, defense employees as of now they are disagreeing to it, but I think some at some point of time they might cave in if this thing does not improve, the situation does not improve. So to cave in means to agree to what someone agree to something that they were previously not accepting. Next is change of pace. Change of pace means something different from the normal routine or schedule, right? It's nice to go on a business trip because it's a change of pace, because it's a change of schedule, right? If you go on a business trip, or like what we used to do was we used to go on so-called workshops. पढ़ते थे नहीं वहाँ पे, but we used to go for those workshops. So for a change of pace, because you get bored by the routine work. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you liked the video. Thanks a lot.